All right.
Welcome, man.
Episode 1.
Episode 1.
Workout, chest,
I am
jokes.
shaking.
Yeah, I'm still sweating. So I'm still hot. I'm surprised you're letting me sit in your office with a sweaty ass on your office chair. And by the way, you're going to use this chair all week at work. So when you talk to me at work, know that I sat here.
I will keep that in mind as I'm working. We just worked out, did some back,
Yeah.
some abs, and I'm shaking. I'm literally shaking right now.
You kind of killed me on the ab workouts. I guess I was doing like the candy ass version of core and ab day, but I came over here. You had me deadlifting and doing abs till failure. So now I'll have to sit down all week.
Dude, it's going to hurt to sit down this week.
When it's going
Hard
to be
to get
painful
up.
to lay and get up.
Oh, man. So, just wanted to kind of talk because we both like talking.
Yeah, we do. We do. We realized this last week after we talked for 3 hours longer than we worked out.
Yeah.
We did work out last week, but we definitely worked our mouth out as well.
Yeah. It wasn't until your wife called you and was like, "Are you overstaying your welcome?" So you realized what time it was, and
Well, that's what we talked about a little bit of that last week. I always do, like, I don't know. Like I'll follow people around and talk to them. Like I have a few random people I know in the food store that I'll shop with, which is ridiculous for someone to state and say. But there's a lot of good stories to be had.
Yeah.
You don't get a lot of shopping done, but and sometimes, like, especially the older people, they'll like ask me, "Man, can you reach out on the top shelf?" And I'm like, "I can, in fact, and also."
we should say, I mean, like, you're a tall guy. How tall are you?
I'm 6'3".
6'3".
Yeah.
This beast can barely fit in my basement gym.
Yeah. So
There's no overhead exercises to be done.
no, only if we're sitting down. That's
Only sitting down.
Only sitting down or laying down.
There's no chin ups to be done.
No.
The men's chin reaches the chin up bar.
Yeah, it literally does.
Doing
always-
any effort.
I'm always afraid I'm going to hit my head on something too.
And I'm 5'5". I'm short.
You appear taller than 5'5".
I'm wider.
No, you appear to me. You appear, and maybe you're just like you're just like a boss in that regard. But you appear to be like I would say closer to like 5'12", and in my mind, you're 5'12".
You mean 6 foot? No, nowhere near.
Well, you can't go straight 6 on a comment like that. You have to put it at 5'12".
From your side, it's just like, yeah, look at all the little people. It doesn't matter.
No, but you know what? It's a blessing and a curse, right? Because one, I hit my head on everything that I walk by, and then two, I can be found very easily. Like it's quite easy for me to be found. Like in the store, like anyone can pick me out. Like look for the guy with the gray beard that towers over everybody else.
Yeah.
However, at a basketball game, I am one of the shortest people there some of the time.
Do you play basketball?
I did a little bit, just in Philly. I lived in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I'll go down. As a kid, that's like the one nice part about the playground was the basketball court because sometimes the slides were questionable. They always had graffiti on them and stuff. But I played basketball in the park for a long time. Yeah.
You're like a gentle giant. You're so humble. You're just like very, like kind of like have soft spoken, really funny, and all this stuff. But was it, having your height in school? Did it ever become a bullying thing, or they just stayed away from you, thinking that you were bigger?
No, it was like the Marines. Like everybody wanted a piece of the big guy. It was terrible. It was terrible. So elementary school was good. I went to a good elementary school around the corner from my house in Northeast Philadelphia, Lawton Elementary School. And it was wonderful. Great teachers. Kids were great. All my friends. And I went to middle school at Ziegler, which was a little closer to the Oxford Circle. And that was kind of a hard school. The first day I was in there, I was in a fight. And then every other week, someone wanted to meet up outside the classroom. And the teachers kind of like, they were like, "Man, this is like part of going to school." I'm like, it's not. It's not part of going to school. So, yeah, like it's like I said, it's a blessing and a curse. But, everyone does want to pick on the big guy. But that when I got older in high school, we're like, don't pick on the big guy. Because then I was like truly 6'3" at that point, 6'2", and I was always like 220 pounds. So,
Yeah, I don't know. I came when I was 10. We lived in West Philly. then it was completely right away like getting picked on and all that stuff for just being different, not speaking English, all that stuff, and it sucked. It sucked. Like it just walking home, it'd be like I got into so many fights. I remember one time I was walking with a buddy of mine, and these like I was already like 6th grade maybe, and you know these 3rd graders or whatever were passing by the bike, maybe like 5 or 6 of them, and they just like screamed out like some obscenity, and I turned around and I flipped them off, and they all just like just stopped their bike and wanted to come and fight, and I'm like, all right, 5 little a-holes, like, and me and my buddy, you know, we got this. And I turn around, my buddy's gone. And it's just me beating on like 3rd graders, like, as a 6th grader, until I can't anymore. And they just like freaking, and I'm like, what the hell, man? Like, for what reason? Like, they're the ones that start. It's just all the time. Like, it just happened a lot.
It was, and that's the difference growing up in the city, close to the city, versus, you know, where we're at now. We're in the suburbs.
Yeah.
Because I had so many experiences, like birthday parties, always had at least one fist fight, for sure. Whether that was between family members or friends, didn't matter. But I had this one time I was at my friend's 16th birthday party, and she had a really long backyard with a long driveway. And these other kids wanted to come in. They weren't allowed to come in because there was already like 50 kids at the party. And they threw a bottle at the fence, and it broke, and it shattered, and it sprayed like a couple of my friends in the face, and it cut their face.
Yeah.
So then I heard my name called out front. So I went out. I was like, I always had the best intentions. I was like, hey guys, what's up? You know, and like, they were like, it's on, you know, and just like rolled on me. Like that was a thing, you know, that was another thing growing up in Philly. Like you got rolled on, meaning you got beat up by multiple different people at the same time. Right. So I'm out there just getting destroyed. Some dude like Superman punched me from running across the street, and I'm on the ground, and all out of the corner of my eye, I see my buddy come out holding a handkerchief full of blood in his mouth and just like mollywop someone. Like he came to my rescue. But then he started getting rolled on because we were still outnumbered. And then the absolute worst thing in the world that can happen to a 16-year-old man happened to me. My girlfriend jumped on my back while I was getting my ass beat and to stop them from beating on me. So then everyone was like, you know, your girlfriend had to save you. And that was terrible, man. That stayed with me forever. I was like, you should just let me get beat up. I would have got stitches. You know, I'd be fine.
Yeah, the beating up part is like it happens and then it goes away and then you see those people and it's fine, right? The girlfriend jumping on your back, that's something that is like people bring up later on. It's like, you know what happened this one time?
The emotional anguish of that memory is enough to torture my soul for the rest of my life. Plus, every time the story is told by another that was there and witnessed, they get to remove my man card every time. So that's one thing.
It's tough, man. Growing up, it's tough, especially in Philly. I don't know. There was bomb threats all the time because people did not want to go to class.
School. What was that about?
I don't know. Like I swear to God, there was like bomb threats all the time where we just like, okay, another one, and we would go outside, we would go across the street. The police would come, search everything, and nothing would be, and then be like, oh yeah, apparently a kid had a test and didn't want to take it, and
wow,
and that was the thing. It desensitized me so much that I remember I had a bomb threat. Like, you know, like the school, the high school had like
a couple years ago.
And a couple of years ago. And my wife comes to me all like, you know, like shocked. Like, she's like, there was a bomb threat. And I was like, uh-huh. And I was like, oh yeah, we had them all the time. And then I realized, like, as I'm saying that, I'm like, this is not normal. Like, for me to be desensitized to that type of, you know, like, action, it's just not normal. Like we used to have metal detectors going into the school.
Yeah.
And I went and I was like, I remember there was a certain door that didn't have a metal detector and nobody checked. And I wanted to be cool. Not that beepers were cool back then, but I had a beeper. I know. and, and I wanted to bring it in, and without, and so I would just bring it in through that door, and it was just known that that was the door that nobody checked, and you could just go in. And I remember one time there was a kid who brought a gun to school just to show it off. It wasn't like today's kind of thing. It was just like, check this out, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody reported him, and he got arrested and all that stuff. But it was just normal, everyday thing. There would be like fights, like you said, people got rolled on. One guy got stomped on so bad, like he ended up surgery and not coming back. I mean, like the security guard got into a fight with a student one time. Mm-hmm. It's just all the time was something. Just fight after fight. There was no learning going on in that school.
Yeah, and that's why I used to like, whenever my kids would tell me, oh, there was like talk of a bomb threat and like some kid brought fireworks to school, I'd be like, they're just some fireworks. Yeah. That's fine. Like, pipe bombs are fireworks to me. I don't know them to be dangerous, right? Like, because we used to make them, right? Get a whole bunch of matches, cut the end of a tube off, pack the match heads in there, and then light it on fire when you put it back together, right? That's a bomb, right? I called that a firework growing up. Like,
that's fucked up.
It is. But that's like what we do in the alleyway. We'd be like, yo, do you guys get enough matches? Let's make the fireworks. It made shrapnel. Like it wasn't a firework.
We would just stack like boxes and boxes of matches and put them in like all facing each other, and then throw it. Yeah. I think it would just like burn so hot that it would leave a star burn pattern into the concrete. And now that like I said, I came when I was 10 years old, and we did that as even younger. I went back like maybe 5 years later? No, 10 years later, I went back to Paraguay. We went to see my childhood home, and in the back, in the patio, was those star burn patterns still there. Yeah. Dude, it's nuts, man. Growing up is fun. I mean, there was a lot of fun things.
That's all I had was fun. Yeah. School and like that was all after the fact. All I did. The city is like living in like Philadelphia or growing up in the city. There's never-ending things to do and never-ending fun as a kid, but there's also the trouble, right? I used to get in so much trouble.
There's that, and we're talking this with my wife because as kids, I mean, I came when I was 10, and we lived here in Philly, and it was like West Philadelphia, and it's probably like a 30-minute train ride to the city. Mm-hmm. And I used to get on a train after school, like a year later, when I'm 11, and just go on the train, go downtown, go to my uncle's shop, and help him out there, and then come back at like 7 or 8 p.m. and call my parents from the payphone, collect, where they'd be like, who's calling? And I'd be like, it's Jose, pick me up, and I'll hang up. And then they would see, all they hear is like, Jose, come pick me up. It's like, it's calling, collect call. Do you like to accept the charges? Yeah. And it's like, no. And they would know to come pick me up from the train station. And it's like, we're talking about an 11-year-old in the city. Yeah. Taking the train at night and all this stuff. I don't even let my kids here go down to the store. And, like in their, older, like, and I'm just like, man, like, is anybody like us too? Like, are we just overprotective? And, I'm just like saying, no, it's like, I think it just depends, like who, like how your kid, like right now with our kids, like we're, teaching them, how to cross the road safely, how to, how to look out, for things and go to the store and get change and stuff like that. Because I feel like it's a skill that, they don't just pick up on their own. And we as kids, we just did it. Yeah. So I don't know, man. It's just different generation. Like,
Well, yeah, like that's the thing. Like it wasn't a big deal for me to go walk across the Tacony Bridge and cross over into New Jersey, right? Like that was the big deal. But like yeah, today, like, I think my kids were like, "Hey, we're gonna walk over to New Jersey." I'm like, "No, you're not.
Yeah, like
You can take an Uber,
Yeah,
like, or I'll drive you there, but
Yeah.
you're not going there."
Yeah, that's weird, man. I remember, I mean, I was older already, like 17, 18. I was driving, and I didn't come home all day, and uh, my mom asked me like, "Where you been?" Like just wondering, like, "Where you been?" I was like, "Oh, we went to Atlantic City." Like it's like and she's like, "What?" I'm like, why? You know, it's like I'm still kind of like a child in some ways, but you know, in other ways, it's like, oh yeah, we decided to go to Atlantic City for, like with a buddy of mine. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, his friend wanted to go, so we all went. And I shouldn't have meant this, but we have fake IDs, so
Who did? Like,
we're in the casino. And to us, it's like, we're putting $20-$40 and that's it. We're done.
mm-hmm.
So it's like 30 minutes of fun at most.
Yeah.
Where the guy we went with was a hardcore poker player.
Mm-hmm.
And he was there for hours. And he drove. So there's nothing we can do for hours. And we're just sitting there. And then he finally finishes and he's like, yeah, I got, the diamond level card, let's go have buffet, it's free, and I was like, we ate and then we came home, but it was just like, what the hell do we do, can't leave on our own. He's playing there forever.
It sucks watching you play poker all this time. This is not fun for me.
Oh man,
my mother used to be a hardcore gambler, loved slot machines, like high roller, like $100, like the machine that gate took 50s and 100s, like, and that is very hard to watch, especially when you're broke. I think I'd be broke, like just trying to like pay the rent, and she would just be like feeding those hundreds in there, like she would hit like a $3,000 jackpot. That was just like that would keep you going. And like
my mother-in-law was like that for a while, but then now she stopped.
I can't take the multiple noises. When you walk in, there's 50 songs all playing at the same time.
I don't know. I don't like casinos. I don't like game of chances and all that stuff. There were some times where I played a little bit, but I'm not one of those that like, yeah, I want to go there. Like it's like, oh, I'm here and there's a casino. Mm-hmm. Sure, let me play a little bit or whatever and just put money aside. And if I lose it, I lose it, which is normally the case. Yeah, I remember one time when I was younger too. I used to compete in Taekwondo, and there was a national competition going on in Atlantic City, and I went over there. I competed, and I went. I think I was already like over 21 by that point. I competed, and I was like, "Oh, in between competition, let me go play some, dice." And I went there and I won like $400, and I was like, awesome! Like I could buy myself an iPod Touch.
Yeah.
It was like that, and my wife was like, like what? Like what are you? I've been married since I've been married since I was 19. So it's like my wife was like, where'd you get this money? I was like, I wanted to
rich now.
Rich baby. It's different times, man. When like $60 was a lot of money, Like
I remember it like it was yesterday, man. Because I didn't make it to the suburbs here and get the good job that we have until 9 years ago. That's when I came here. I'm 47 now. That was 37. I had a lot of life in Philadelphia before I made it. I worked really hard to get there, but like, you're talking about gambling and. I don't like gambling. I can't take the casino because of the multiple different songs they play. However, if we're at the office on Monday or Wednesday and you're like, hey, let's go flip quarters outside or roll some dice against the wall, I'm all in. I'll bring my dollars with me and we'll flip quarters the whole time. Like those, because those are the games that Chance I grew up on, right? Yeah. Like it was half ball or wiffle ball. and then it was, flipping quarters. And then see, that's another way we resolved our differences too. Back in Philly, like our parents always said, like, you should never resort to violence, and everyone was really close growing up, but that didn't stop someone from getting beat with a wiffle ball bat, which hurt really bad because it produces welts. You can't get seriously injured from it, but if you get a whooping with a wiffle ball bat from your boy for like mouthing off,
Yeah.
it hurt, man. It hurt.
Yeah.
It hurt bad.
I don't think we had that growing up.
I watched my friend chase my other friend down the street, just whap, 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 whap. He's like, stop. Followed him into his house.
We came in 97, and I remember my dad came in 96, and he had a job already established and all this stuff by the time we came. And we just stayed in this little apartment that was like 2-bedroom, all 4 of us, and my brother and I slept in the living room. And my dad was like, you guys gotta get out, you can't stay in the house all day long. And he gave us some money, and he's like, there's an Italian store down the street, you go get bread and stuff like that, walk around. We come out, and there's a cop like chasing a guy, and all this stuff, and cuts him off, and then arrests him, and then starts pulling guns and knives out of his pocket. And we're like, what the heck did we get ourselves into coming here? It was so weird. Such a shock of culture. I don't know.
I can only imagine, because I kind of grew up with the brutality of the city, if you want to call it that. I lived in a pretty good spot. But, like, things just seem to follow us and happen, around. Like, I remember one time when I was old enough to start going to other neighborhoods. I think I was like, I don't know, I might have been 15 or 16. And we, my buddy were, just walking around, and it was like 9:30. We were allowed to stay out till like, 11. And this guy, we came up upon this guy. He was outside of a bar, and he was like beating up on his girlfriend. He's really rough with her. So my buddy, I'll call Jay, he goes up to, he's like, why don't you pick on someone your own size? This dude's 120 pounds, right? Like, he's a wrestler, 120 pounds. He's talking to this giant guy outside of the bar who, like, just hit his girlfriend. The dude turns around, and Jay's like, it's on. The guy's like, it's on. Jay takes off. He runs away. I'm like, well, at least he, like, got the guy to, like, stop paying attention to beating up on his girlfriend. So Jay turns a corner, right? And the guy turns the corner, and then I'm still looking. The big dude who was beating up on his girlfriend comes running back around the corner with a surprised look on his face, and Jay's running with a 2x4. I'm going to whip this, right? So then they go to the other end of the block, and they turn that corner. I see Jay turn the corner. Then Jay comes back with no 2x4 and a surprised look on his face. And the big dude has, like, this like end of a stop sign. Like, and he, like, just the pole. It was, like, broken. Some car hit it. And he's chasing Jay. He's going to beat Jay, right? So they go back to the same end of the corner. The dude turns the corner, comes back around with a surprised look on his face, and Jay has a shovel, right? A big metal, like the old school snow shovel and shovel.
Like a cartoon.
It was crazy. So Jay's like, he's like, it's on, it's over now. And the dude turns the corner, and Jay steps and swings to get him before he steps around the corner. And to his dismay, like, he goes bong, like he makes contact, right? And he didn't hit the guy, unfortunately. The guy's girlfriend was still getting up from, like, being hit, and he hit her in the head with the shovel. And Jay was like, he looked at me, and he's like, I'm out. I'm out of here. I gotta go.
I gotta go.
I was like, is your girlfriend okay? It was comical. I was like, wait, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this?
I don't think comical is the word.
It's a shame. I guess it's a shame. She was okay. She had a lump on her head, but, like,
as long as she's okay now.
But it was like the Wile E. Coyote type stuff, cartoons are made out of. It was back and forth.
We used to play hockey, like street hockey.
Oh yeah.
And or roller hockey and all this stuff. And my friend and I would be like, oh, let's swing the stick around, and I'm gonna say duck and you duck, and I'm gonna say jump and you jump, and all that stuff, and like kids being stupid with something, because they have something in their hand, and we're like, and then he says like duck, and he goes over, and then he says jump, and I go and I jump, and one time he says jump, and he goes over and hits me in the head and just clops me and starts bleeding. And we just kind of like covered the blood and all this. We didn't get stitches or anything like that. For the longest time, my freaking head hurt. Like, I definitely needed stitches.
My head hurts.
But I did not tell my parents that happened. Years later, I shaved my head. And like when you break your head, like, and when you crack your head and you get stitches, you get a scar there where no hair grows. And I shaved my head. My mom sees like 2 scars. And she's like, I remember when that happened. When did this happen? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Like, and you didn't tell me? And it's like, no, I didn't tell you. It's like, what the heck? And like, you should.
When did that happen?
Man, it's different, man. Like our kids, like now, it's like they come in here, they run around, they have their play dates with their friends and all that stuff, and it usually involves a computer. They all go into a room with a computer and play, with each other and all that stuff. But then when they're actually running around, it's different. It's like less violent. And not that I want them to be more violent, because as soon as anything goes down, we're like, oh no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
But as kids, we did that.
Like,
and it's like, I don't know, man, there's a little bit of a, like kind of thing goes in my head. Like, it's like, it's like, oh man, I sound like my parents. I understand now.
The emotional roller coaster of looking after 2 other human beings is difficult, scary, and fun. But for instance, you're talking about like how we were like very frivolous on getting hurt. We did things for fun that potentially injured us all the time.
All the time.
As kids, right?
All the time.
Now our kids are kind of different, right? So I agree. Like my
you have daughters, I got boys.
My girls, right? So so yesterday, and this just goes to show how like non-lethal their lives really are. Right? So my daughter, my wife's on night shift, right? She's like, if anyone wakes me up, you're dead. I'm like, oh, God, yeah, I'm going to be on. Everyone's going to stay quiet. My daughter, as soon as my wife falls asleep when she gets home, raises the whole house screaming, I cut myself. So we run up there. She had a cut on her finger, right? A little cut on her finger.
Yeah.
She broke her lamp in her room. She was cleaning. Little cut. I'm like, you wrap that up. You're done. That's a Band-Aid. There's no reason.
Yeah.
Reaction. Yeah. But that kind of, when I thought about that, I was like, yeah, they're not used to getting cut or hurt or anything like we were.
Yeah, boys is different. My
kids are I'm sure. Yeah.
My boys are in Scouts. They're both in Scouts. They there's a certain point in Scouts where the older one can carry a knife. He's passed the course of like knife safety. He's actually very good. If he ever needs to use the knife, he's careful. He does his whole thing, making sure that nobody's around. Cuts away from himself. Never had an incident with it. The younger one got his whittling chip, which basically gives him the right to have a knife, but not carry it, and can only use it with adult supervision. So he got his whittling chip. We go to camp, and I was like, do you want a knife? And he's like, yeah. And so I got him like a little Victorino one, the small little pocket knife. And I'm thinking, yeah, this is a good one. All the other ones is like big and all this stuff. This one is sharper, better quality. Probably better knife for you. And he was like, okay. So we got him that. Older one goes to camp, gets this Bigfoot knife, is gold, and it has like an assist flick to it. It's amazing. I love that knife. Technically, I bought it for myself. And he's like, is that for me? And I was like, sure, buddy. You can have it. But I carry it every once in a while. It's really cool. But anyway, they get home, and apparently they were comparing knives. All I know is somebody comes downstairs with a band-aid, and he's like, "Dad, I cut my finger." I was like, "How'd you cut your finger?" My brother and I were comparing knives, and I cut my finger. And I was like, "So you were using a knife without adult supervision?" "Yes." "Give me the knife." And I took it away. But that's like normal. Like, and he already had a band-aid on because the other one knows first aid from scouts too, and all this stuff. So he jumped right on that. He's like, "Here you go. Put pressure on it. You know, put the thing." He got this. I was like, "Psh, that's amazing." You know,
That is, because that's not the experience I have when someone gets cut in my house.
No, they you know, cut and scrape all the time. Even though they're very much indoor kids and play a lot inside and all that stuff, they're pretty rough when they are playing. And, you know, cuts and nosebleeds and
Yeah, it's fine.
punches in the face happen.
Punches in the face. I can't tell you how many times I've been punched in the face as a kid.
Oh my god, my older son one time punched the younger son to the point that he had pretty much a black eye. And I was like, "What the heck, man? What happened?" He's like, "Well, you know, he wouldn't let me sleep." And it's like, "You can't do that." We had the whole conversation. I mean, this is not normal. It was a one-time thing, but like, I just, you know, you're stronger than him. You gotta be careful. The whole thing, right? That next day, he goes to school. The little one runs into a tree. Luckily, the recess aide saw that. He goes in and he gets another black eye
Oh, man.
on the other side, and his nose is like all scraped up. And they're like, "What happened?" And he's like, "Well, I ran into a tree, and this one my brother did it." And it's, "Well, you know, where were your parents?" And it's like, "Well, they were sleeping." And so then they called us, like, you know, "Did you know?" I was like, "Yeah, the kid has a black eye. Yeah, I know. You know, but there's nothing we could have done." "Well, what are their sleeping arrangements?" You know? And I'm like, they have their own room, but they just choose to sleep next to each other all the time. They want to sleep together all the time. You know, and no matter what I do, they don't want to go to their own room. Even if I say, "You're going to go to your room," now they're both going to go to the other person's room. But they just fight. They're brothers, you know. And it's like, is there anything else that you can do? Like, what the hell are you trying to teach me how to raise my kids and all this stuff? It's like, first of all, besides this incident, they really freaking love each other, and they can't stand. Even when they're fighting, even whatever and all this stuff, they just like, you know, at the end of the night, they're like, can he still sleep in my room that day?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's.
So we're not, you and I grew up in a different place. We're not used to the level of questions that you receive in an abnormal situation growing up, right? So when something went down at school, my teacher would be like, they're fine. Like, don't worry about them. You worry about yourself. No throwing stuff into the front of the classroom. Like, they didn't care as much, right? So like, that would happen to us, like and that's just because so many people are watching the kids, and then a better school system. I assumed it was better, and more eyes on, more people looking after them. That my daughter didn't bring lunch one day, and they were like, "Is everything okay at home?" She came home with a gift card to Acme, a $50 gift card. They were like, "You take this and you buy lunch, you know." I'm like, I called the school. I was like, "Thanks for the gift card. We bought us dinner tonight, but we don't need it." She just refused to take her lunch. Because she was on this thing, like, she was that girl thinking, like, her friends don't want to be seen eating in public, because it was, you know, they were teenagers, and their self-image was very important, and it was the thing, and like, it was the whole thing.
But so I told you, my wife is doing great teaching our kid how to, like, basically survive on their own, and kind of like go shopping and get change and all this stuff, especially like, you know, with our older son. So basically, my wife gives my kid $20 and was like, "Go buy eggs and milk."
Right.
And he goes to the store, grabs milk, grabs 2 eggs, and goes to the counter, and it was like over $20. That's how you know inflation is hitting. Because my wife was like, "What? Eggs and milk is over $20?"
Yeah.
So anyway, he didn't have enough money for the eggs and milk, and the cashier like takes it out of her pocket
Really?
to pay the dollar something
Wow.
extra, and so my son comes to the car and tells my wife like it costs more, like shows her the receipt and all this stuff. So my wife is like, like freaked out, like what the hell, like I'm sorry, like I didn't know, and all this stuff. And so she grabs $2 and was like, go give to the cashier, tell her thank you. But and he goes and tries to give it, and she refused. Again, it's like we don't need the help. It's like but at the same time, it's like holy crap, like what the hell, like oh my god, $20 for eggs and milk, like that's how inflation's hitting hard.
Yeah, as I was saying, like I better make more money every year.
Dude,
because
it is ridiculous. I went to Five Guys the other day, and it was like $40 for two burgers, fries, and shake.
Yeah, I all but stopped.
I called.
Out.
Well, it was just like one of those things. It's like, oh, like you wanna grab some burgers or something? I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. So I called Five Guys. I had, and I was like, okay, can I get 2 burgers, shake, and fries? And they're like, yeah, 39 something. And I'm like, that must have been a mistake. I'll just go in there, figure out. So I'm like, 2 burgers, fries, and shake. Yeah, 39 something. $40 for 2 burgers, fries, and shake? She's like, yeah. I was like, what the heck? Because I know the whole inflation thing has been happening for a while, and people have been talking about it, and we live comfortably and we can see it happening here and there, but it doesn't hit you until like your fast food is costing a lot. Like even the restaurants, like we go out to restaurants every once in a while, and I'm a little bit desensitized over the bill, and so I don't pay attention too much about it. But then when you're like $40 for 2 burgers, I'm like, Jesus, man! Like
I'm not desensitized to it. So let's go have lunch over at Harvest. She'll be like, what? Why is this $200? like it's insanely expensive out there now. So
it is.
Then what's interesting about Five Guys is it's $40 for 2 burgers and you get fries. You get fries?
Fries and a shake.
Okay, so you open the bag, right, and there's an overabundance of fries.
There is.
And you're like, wow, they hooked me up, right? That's how you feel.
No, it's
But the reason that they put the fries in the bottom of the bag is because it doesn't cost them. Fries are a wash for them. They don't make money on fries. They do that so they can charge $40 for 2 burgers, right, to make you feel like you got a lot when you really didn't.
Oh, my God. Yeah. It is ridiculous. Anyway, it's not good for you, so we don't do it up anyway. Now we'll say we don't do it because of the price, but really we shouldn't do it at all.
Yeah, we shouldn't, but there are some good burgers there. You know what we were talking about last week was dreams, and I was it was really messed up because I never remember my dreams, and then after you had asked me questions about them, I had one this week, and it sucked. I dreamt I was mowing my lawn. What a shitty dream to have, man.
I have dreams sometimes.
Why my lawn though? Like I was not looking forward to doing that yesterday, and all I could think about when I was cutting lawn yesterday was that I dreamt about doing it, and it was a terrible
I had one time a dream that we were buying a house, and it was like a humongous house or something like that, and so we go look at it, and my wife goes, I'm not buying this house until I sleep one night in it. Like, it's a big purchase. I need to know what it feels like to sleep in a house like this. And I'm like, honey, that's not normal. Nobody freaking asked to sleep over a house, in order before buying it. And she's like, no, I'm gonna get this done, and all that stuff. I'm not spending blah blah until I know what it feels like. And I'm like, oh God, right? And so next thing I know, it's like we're getting ready to sleep over the night in this house, and I'm like, okay, cool, and this is fun, and we're going through the amenities, and we say goodnight, we fall asleep, we come back in the next day, basically in my dream, I'm like waking up, we're having breakfast in this house, and we're all talking about how great it is, how nice layout the kitchen, this and that. And I asked her, I was like, how'd you pull this off? How'd you pull off to sleep in a house, like, basically before we buy it?
Mm-hmm.
And she said, I didn't ask anybody. We're just doing it. I'm like,
How'd you get
that's breaking and entering.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like, I'm freaking out. Like, I'm gonna get arrested. You know, like,
We can't sleep here.
You can't do that, right?
This is called squatting.
Yeah, like,
we
this
can't
is
do
like
this.
breaking and entering. What are you doing? And then I'm starting cleaning, and I see the realtor come in through the driveway, and it's one of those things that, you know, like. He comes in, he sees me cleaning, and I thought, I'm busted. But the guy sees a Hispanic man cleaning house and thinks that it's part of the cleaning crew that the owners hired.
Messed up, man.
And I just go along with the story because I'm like, yeah, you know, I just gotta go buy some more cleaning supplies. I'll be right back, and we bolted.
That's awesome.
And I wake up, and I'm just like in such a like confused state, and I look over to my wife, and I think she would do something like that. And it was just hilarious. I was like, yeah, she would.
Wow.
That was a great dream, though.
Yeah, see, that's a good dream. And the only other dreams I have are heading induced dreams that make no sense. Like, you know, flying in airplanes, jets that have no wheels on the bottom, and I can't land them. Like, it's some bad situation. Or trying to milk elephants, giant war elephants. Where do they even come from? They're not milkable. You can't.
What do you mean
Why?
they're not milkable? They're mammals.
You don't milk them like a cow, though, for milk. Elephants don't do that. Like,
It's like meet the parents. It's like, I got nipples. Can you milk me?
How do you do it?
Yeah.
You grab the little teats and you just go side to side. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, man. Dreams are funny. I don't. I can't. There's so many times though that I've had those kind of dreams that I wake up and I'm like, oh man, that sucks. It's like that would happen.
I rarely remember them. But my wife, on the other hand, she's kind of like what I consider to be like a half in and out, like medium. Like there's been times she'd be like, yo, who's George? And I'd be like, oh, George was she's like, this guy, George, came to me and told me he had a lot of fun sitting on Conley Street on the yellow sofa, hanging out with you in the alleyway, drinking beer. Like, and she described all these things that she should not know about me and this guy, George, one of my best friends growing up who died young. And he came to her after his death. We looked it up online, and he like came to her in a dream. She dreamt about it, and he had a message for me to like not worry about it, don't feel bad about it, you know. And it was like a day after he passed. So, and like she came to me with that, and I hadn't thought it. I lost touch with George like 5-6 years, and he like that. That was like a thing. Other times she'd be like, "Don't go on 95 today." I'd be like, "Why?" She'd be like, "I just have a feeling. Don't do it." Accident on 95. The time I'd be driving on it, or like she, and also too, she stops me from making lots of bad decisions. I'll be like, "Oh, this contractor 100%. Is cheaper. I'm gonna go with him." She's like, "I got a bad feeling."
No. Yeah. My wife all the time.
Intuitive.
Super intuitive to the point that she says, "When are you gonna listen to me and finally understand that I know better?"
Yeah.
And I go, "You could tell me that pig is gonna fly, and he takes off flying, and I'm still not gonna listen." like, and that's just me being stubborn. But in all seriousness, she's amazing at like being, you know, being intuitive, being like really, you know, like the stuff that she says just comes true. And I'm like even this house that we're sitting in, it's like she's like, "Oh, I want a pool for the kids," and we looked it up, and then to get a pool installed, it would have been like a 2-year wait, you know. And And we were like, oh, that's a long time. And I'm like, I don't want to pay for a pool because that's not gonna go into the equity of the house too much. Like it's like I don't want to waste the money. So we looked at buying a new house, and everything that we went to buy, it was just like the market was so hot, and she's like, no, by the end of July, my kids are swimming in their own pool. And I'm just like, sure, honey, whatever. And we're looking at houses. Some houses we're even putting, offers in, nothing. Mm-hmm. And then I got promoted, and I was already at the other company. Mm-hmm. I got promoted, so it was like, okay, like, even if we get a new house, and that's like, okay, like, it's more affordable. And at that time, it was trading cash for cash. It was like, you're paying more for a house, but you're also getting a lot more for your house.
It's true, yeah.
So we find this house, and we're like, okay, whatever it takes, we're gonna get it. And our realtor was amazing, and we got the house. And guess what? Closing date July 31st or something like that. Like, it was something ridiculous. Like it was like at the end of July. She'll say stuff like that. That's like, oh my god. Crazy. Like I don't know. Like it is so ridiculous. Like the stuff that she fruitions to life. Out of a speech. Yeah. Or just there's so many I can't even think, but it's amazing. I give her all the credit, just not to her face. No, no, in all seriousness, I do tell her like she's great with that stuff.
See, I mess with my I'm a little too sarcastic. I don't live a serious life. I live a life of sarcasm and comedy. And like my wife, she worked this week. She worked like 48 hours at least, maybe 52. And she just did this shift where she works at like a really nice little restaurant, because it's like you get a bunch of cash, at the end it's 2:00, and she come home, sleep 4 hours, then go work at the hospital overnight at a 12-hour shift. And she come home the next day, she's like, I'm so tired. I was like, I think you're gonna be okay. She makes her so mad, but she knows I'm just messing around, like, but like I do it all the time. But her intuition, right? And you were talking about how your wife has just that intuition, how she can place something into the world and make it happen, and know that it's going to happen, believe that it's going to happen, and that action actually happens. So my wife, this one time, she was having it was when she was like actively dreaming, right? She goes over to her mom's house, and she's like, you got to call your friend. Like, I don't know, I have a feeling I call her friend. Called her friend. Her friend just finds out that, like, she's going to die in, like, 6 months. So, like, I asked my wife, like, is that, like, difficult? Like, you always deliver the bad news. Like, why isn't it like, hey, you should buy a lottery ticket tomorrow because you're about to be rich, It's always the bad news. So now, like, when she, and here's the other thing, she'll have bad feelings. She'll be like, I got a bad feeling about this. And I'm like, what exactly is going to happen? Am I going to die? Like, what's good? She's like, no, it's just a bad feeling. I don't know. And then I don't know because she can't put her finger on it. And then like something like, something in the world happens. But and that's the other side of the coin is like,
I am such a guy of facts, science, kind of like basically it's like, there's no way that this is happening. There's no way that you're doing that. But at the same time, I'm just like, hey, ride the wave. If it's good news, it's good news.
Yeah, it's good for us, man.
Yeah,
here we go.
Like, you shouldn't take that job. Take that job, and it turned out better. Like, things like that. That's just like amazing.
Yeah, that's what when I took. So I was still doing my undergraduate degree when I took the current position I have now. And they asked my wife, I was like, yeah, should I do it? She's like, this is a really good thing. I have a great feeling about this. And for the last decade, it's been great. It's so, like, I point is that I have to listen to her when she comes in, she's like, I have a feeling about this. I'm like, man, I'm stuck with it. I remove my decision-making ability out of it, and I ride the wave.
There's so to speak. I don't know what it is, Chinese proverb or whatever, but the farmer basically is sitting in his farm, and one of his cows gets loose, and everybody from the town comes over and says, "Well, I'm sorry about the cow." He's like, "Good." It's like maybe not. Like basically, it's like it's sorry. And then like then basically all these things happen to him that no matter what, if it's good or bad, he's never happy or sad about it because it's like it could be good, it could be bad. And at the end, it all kind of comes to fruition. It's like, oh, this happened for that reason, this happened for that reason, and all that stuff. So the story goes that like you shouldn't basically count your eggs, right? Like you shouldn't do anything until the end, right? Because you never know. And so there was it has happened where I'm like I got fired or something like that, and it was a dead end job, and
like the good old days, man. I haven't been fired in a long time. I haven't thought about that in forever.
I know.
Hey, man, did you ever have the opportunity to fantastically quit a job?
Fantastically quit a job?
Like go out with a bang?
No.
I have, and it is a great feeling. Let me tell you. So I was working this job. It was in a it was for like a realtor company, and I had to go in there. I was young, so I had to go in there and clean the whole place overnight, right? And would do this like for multiple like properties they had because they were showing them. So I would go in there and they would give me like, I don't know, I was young. I would get like $100 or something, right? But I had to be there from like midnight to 8. So it didn't take me that long to do everything. So I used to like hang out, and like do my own thing and then read or whatever it was. I was, and a couple times, some of the realtors would come in and like, you didn't vacuum. I was like, I vacuumed this whole place. What are you talking about? Like, we don't see lines in the carpet. I was like, that's because you walked over it. So like they kept at it, right? They kept doing that to me. And like one day, like I just went in there, and this was like my summer gig between like I was doing school at the time. I went in and I had the keys in my hand, and they were like, I found out they were like talking shit about me, about how I don't vacuum. And I was like, this is so meaningless. You're talking about me vacuuming your floor. That's not dirty anyway, but I did vacuum. So I went into, they were both in their office, and I heard you guys were talking about me behind my back, and they were like, no. And I was like, you know what? I don't need your effing job. And I quit and I had the keys in my hand, and I did a full like slam on the desk, and I went boom, and I slammed the keys down on the desk, and their papers and pencils and whatever important crap they had went flying off the desk, and I slammed the door and walked out of there. Let me tell you, that's a memory I have, and I probably shouldn't have quit that way, but man, was it fun to do.
Yeah. No, the time that I got fired, I just started getting into programming. I was a dead-end data collecting kind of job where we would hire contractors to clean out foreclosed homes. And it was like, there was a point of it where they would bring in their application and they would give us all the zip codes that they would service. And so a lot of times, like, it would just be like a row of zip codes, and we had an Excel that you would take those zip codes and it would go and translate to cities and areas that the map would be covered. So it was so horrible, the Excel workbook that I had, that at the time when I first started getting into programming, I was like, oh, I could take all this and I could put it into a program and it would spit out, or the other way around. They would give us the counties or everything like that, and we would need to put in zip code because the system needed that. Like one of those things. The point being that I wrote a program that would do that for me, and is just getting into C#. I installed it on my machine. So by 11 a.m., I'm already done with all my work. I'm just chit-chatting. And so they're looking at me and they're like, like, oh, you should be doing this. And it's like, yeah, I'm done. And they didn't like that. And then everybody started noticing that. And they were like, oh, I want that program. Turns out the Excel sheet that was written by the guy who's in the corner office now. And he maybe took it the wrong way, that it was crap.
What, you made it better.
And I made it better. And instead of saying, "Oh, you got great talents, like maybe we could use you in other ways," no, they fired me. So
Douchebags, man.
yeah.
You know, I'm glad they did because I
glad.
never would have known you maybe if you had to stay in that dead end job, right?
Yeah, and it was so stupid, but like I was just like, oh my god, and my wife's like, yeah, no, it's better,
Yeah, it was better.
because it was like one of those things. I was like, yeah, I was just comfortable. It was this
Yeah.
easy job that I was just comfortable at, and I wouldn't pursue this career if it wasn't for that. I was kind of like playing around with it, and I wasn't fully invested into it. But getting fired, it lit me up to
Yeah, man.
go and actually get a real programming job where I made, probably twice, 3 times
Yeah.
more.
Easily.
in
And
the
now
next-
you're like an
in the-
aficionado, like your opinions are like, when Jose says something, like at least on team, I say it to other people I talk to, like, oh no, Jose said that it works this way. When I hear that sentence come out of someone's mouth at work, I'm like, then that's the way it works. Like, no, there's no more questions. Jose is most likely right. You have to really prove that he's not right.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. Thank you, but
No, you're the man.
I don't.
But don't you think it's important? And I think
There are certain people that I feel that way though, like Tim Hewers.
Tim's almost never.
It's it's like, okay.
I think one time I got Tim on something one time in all the years, I think, but Tim is always right.
On point, yeah. He's a smart man.
He's
We
extremely
work with a lot
smart.
of smart individuals, and that's
We do. It's actually at times it's like you know what, as the team grew, the one thing the imposter syndrome was insane for me. Like I was like, man, am I even good at what I do anymore?
there is that.
And then like it took me a while, but then eventually I like my like because other good people were like really doing great work, it made my work better.
Yeah.
And then when that got noticed by others as being good, I was like, it left
I was
me,
working
fine.
at a law firm. It was like a top tier law firm. It was like one of the best in the world, and their headquarters is in Philly. And when I got there, it imposter syndrome sinked in so much because the stuff that we were working on and the technology that we were working on, those guys who wrote books on it that were sitting next to me.
It's intimidating.
It's intimidating as F, and I'm just like, oh my god, like, like, do I belong here? Am I, like, basically, like, I don't know, like, it was such a big imposter syndrome, but then, like, after a while, you're like, oh, okay, I have skills that they don't, and I complement this, and I do that, and then you start seeing your place in it, and it kind of goes away. But yeah, like that was the biggest for me when coming into a place where I feel like, oh my god, imposter syndrome.
Yeah, I had it. When we started working with contractors at work, Todd came on, right, and I was one of the only other Angular devs there, front end people there that like know it, and I went to his talks at code camps to learn how to do things like linting right, And he was like showing me something, and I was like, man, like I'd really like to like, it was like we need to talk to the guy who wrote a book on this, and he was like, yeah, I wrote a book on that, and I was like, oh, like, okay,
Yeah,
show me what to do exactly.
those are really smart individuals.
We do. We're lucky, actually. I feel really blessed and lucky to be around the people I do. But one of the things that I feel is important in my life is that I always move forward in. As far as like my career, because we spend 8 hours a day doing it, right? It's important to think about it and kind of shape it into the direction you want it to go. So that's why I always said, I want to move forward. I want to do different things, right?
Yeah.
So start out with development, and I love writing code. I still love writing code, and I still do it. But then I got heavily into like design and started doing a lot of design because I see design everywhere in everything. So I love that. And then just the nature of wearing many hats, you know, got me into more of a management role. And then I really started loving that. And I learned from because I'm closer to the other managers there. So I learned about those things. I really love that. And when you're thinking like, you know, what's next? You know, what's the next thing? I always try and either progress or change it up.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I see a lot of developers where they just want to write code, they bounce around a little bit because they like the frequency of change, of doing new and different things. The thing that's different about the team that we work on is that we're always almost on the bleeding edge of doing things.
That's true. And then there's also like, you know, like the people who, you know, are expert in something.
Awesome.
The culture is awesome. And then there's people who's expert at one thing, and that's great, but I don't want to be that. I want to be, you know,
I want to know everything.
Jack of all trades.
Yep. Yep. And what do we call it? I think Uma always says this. It's the like knowing many things but master of none. Jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades, but master of none is better than some or something. Or,
something like that, right?
Yeah, it's better than one.
And that's
better than one. Master of one is master of none is better than one, or something like that. The full saying goes, but yeah.
I always like when someone who has a ton of experience and says that. They're like, did you know how to did you know how to write for a you know, this like intense piece of code that like no, it's like no, I never knew how to do it. I just went to the internet and then I wrote the words down on the computer and just started to work. You know, like language and where they make it seem so simple, right? It's not. It was just the one thing that I found amongst professionals in general, really good ones that care about their profession, is that their level of troubleshooting is different. The way that they can pull a problem apart and solve it again.
That's it. Like
it's
100%
that's really what it's about.
That you know what is about. You know, can you troubleshoot? Can you know break it down into small pieces and pass one thing after another until you find the problem. You know, but if you're good at that, then you know the rest is just syntax, and you can find out how to do it.
I used to think I was pretty good at it until Kishore showed me how to do it. We worked with, man, he's like, oh no, do it this way. He knew the browser, he knew all the tooling, right, really well. But the way he would pull an app apart locally, he would bring it down to the smallest thing of where he thought the problem was, point it out until he found the exact spot, and then put it all back together again.
Yeah.
It was so impressive to watch it. And that's how, you know, I learned something from everyone I work with.
Well, man, let's wrap it up there for the first podcast.
All right.
All right, man.
Later, bro.
Great to talk to you.